Welcome to Wisdom Keys with myself, Brother Francis. Having a lot of technical problems, and I don't know why. So, here I am finally on with today's show. It is February the 24th at 1:04 p.m. Here at Resonant Essentials Group. And today's topic is called When All the Leaves Fall. Subtitle: This includes all upon your tree connected to you. So, this has been a very exciting time to be here amongst the group on Resident Essentials and being able to connect with all of you. Every time that we're here, we're striving to bring you spiritual and metaphysical teachings so that you could receive and be a part of what we're doing. And today is one of those days. And I got to make sure I can be heard, and I can. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get started with this. And of course, my name is Brother Francis, and I'm here affiliated with Resonant Essentials. I'm one of the teachers. I teach here on Saturdays with my Creative Pathwork meditation series involving meditation. I've been a spiritual counselor for over 45 years. In fact, this year will mark number 48. And I enjoy helping people gain clarity in their life so that they can discover their purpose or define their purpose, redefine their purpose, as well as fine-tune their purpose. And along with that, I help them to find the various abilities that they have on their own. And it's my joy to help them come into a stronger spiritual stance for themselves so that they can feel more connected and more grounded. And so today's topic, and it's really a brief topic, I'm not going to be on this long because too long, so I'm a little tired. I've been up studying a lot and doing some new things and developing courses and all. But I want to share this daydream scene that I had earlier this week. I had it on Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday. And it was about 11 a.m. when I had it. So I was just, sitting here at my computer desk and doing some work and basically figuring out what I'm going to do for the rest of the day just besides working at my computer. And I decided to just sit back in my chair and contemplate. And then I decided to meditate. Now, I wasn't tired or anything, but I found myself kind of staring at my artwork and some of my plaques on the wall. And I kind of went into a zone. It's as if I went right through the wall outside looking at the tree that doesn't have any leaves on it yet and going beyond the building next to me onto the other side. And I began to daydream deeply. And I came upon a scene that began to unfold in front of me, where I saw several trees, and even my tree outside here. But at the time, everything looked more like springtime and summertime and sometimes a little bit of the fall with the leaves. So I saw dark green leaves. I saw the autumn kind of leaves when they become very colorful, and I saw the moment before that. And this was on all of the trees. And then the trees, with their various leaves, began to drop the leaves onto the ground. And I noticed this was happening. Now, when you move into the fall and you're getting ready to go toward the winter, and the leaves, crumble, they dry, and then they break off from the stem to the branch and they start to fall. Well, even some of the green leaves were doing that. And so I didn't know what to really make of it at the time, but I began to gather the leaves. And as I began to, not only the leaves of the other trees, but my tree, the one that's outside my apartment window here, I began to gather some of the leaves that were on the ground. And as I gathered them up, I saw images on the leaves. And some were stationary and some were moving. And this was, I found, very unique because even the green leaves started to lose a little bit of their color. And of course, the other leaves, as you get into the summertime, right, they're losing a little bit of their color. And of course, when you get to the fall, well, the leaves turn beautiful oranges and sienna colors and rust brown colors, right? Deep, rich reds, and you see the colors. So I saw these colors, though, transform into images. And the symmetry of the leaves began to change. And I looked also at the trees, and I could notice the symmetry of trees was changing. They didn't look natural or normal. And the clarity of the images changed as well. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen some of those Harry Potter movies where they show the people in the frames in the different dorms and they're talking, they're moving, or they get the daily whatever it was, right? And they're reading the paper and the images in the photograph are moving. Well, the images on the leaves were in motion. And I could see clusters of people there, 2 or 3 people engaging in conversation. I could see a whole lot of things going on in those leaves. Now, what I'm about to tell you, I don't want you to take this as my prediction about anything. I'm just really describing what I saw while I was daydreaming on Sunday, the 20th of February, around 11 a.m. in the morning. And this is my topic: when all the leaves fall. When you see leaves around you falling, all the leaves fall. This includes all upon your tree connected to you. So it was like, I think, my higher self delivering a message to me, but I found it kind of interesting, so I thought the title came to me like that. So I've been holding on to this title a long time. And usually when I get my titles for my presentations, I don't get them too real late, 48, 28 hours, or 24 hours before presentation time. So we have all experienced losing a friend, a loved one, or an associate through many of life's transitional stages. What is that? That's someone transitioning through the process, as we know, is death. Some have had children and spouses and siblings go off to war and never get a chance to return. Some people are involved in other kind of situations, right? And so, but now that's just the more graver situations. There are other situations too where people go through divorces and separations. People graduate, right? And again, we resort back to spouses who have their partners in colleges and universities. They go on and on and on. People accept a job halfway around the world and they get a chance to travel And people, maybe like myself, got tired of being on the East Coast and also receiving a message many years before to come to the Southwest, come to New Mexico. So, many times, though, these transitional stages are changes that we're going through. And sometimes these changes are emotionally painful and mentally disturbing, right? We all have gone through, not all changes that we have in all transitional stages that we go through happen to be smooth. So we find ourselves going through things, and it seems like it's quite a task, right? Quite a task. It's not like, we have this all planned out, mapped out years ahead of time. The change occurs, and then it happens. However, it happens in very subtle ways, very subtle steps. We may not even realize that our thoughts are guiding us in a certain direction, the thoughts that we have. The experiences that go on around us are also chipping away. And so our path begins to change. The path can become rough or the path can be smooth. And just because the path is smooth doesn't mean that the change is going to be easy. So, when you think of trees, like every other plant and every other being on the earth, right down to an insect, needs sunlight. It's like an antenna to receive sunlight. Trees lend us a great deal of support. Some trees give us maple syrup. And the syrup or the sap of the tree is the blood of the tree, the life force of the tree. Trees can give us shelter. Many people have built log cabins out of trees, right? Indigenous tribes have built drums out of tree trunks. They give us a certain degree of sustenance through their fruit, their flowers for medicinal purposes, fruit to eat, as well as nuts, and the nuts were considered the meat. The leaves lend us medicinal support and shade, and sometimes are poisonous to our existence because it has plenty of toxicity and poisonous things in it that could affect us, yet can heal us. So these two things we want to kind of keep in mind. Trees give us a source of shade and comfort. And again, not for us, but all other beings upon the earth. So, if trees can do this, and leaves carry the energy, they're like the extensions of the branches, then we might have to start looking at our connections and our branch connections. We all come from Source, and we all choose the people that are in our lives. We choose them soul to soul, our higher self to higher self connection. And we come here to play various roles to impact, influence, ignite the various rich abilities, a wealth of abilities that we have inside of ourselves to remember our divinity, and also to enhance and impact the surroundings, our immediate environments. We all heard the phrases for years that many people, we are stewards of the earth, meaning we are the caretakers of the earth. We're here and we have to do better. Like we got to clean the water. We've had difficulties. We got to save the animals in the sea, the fish, you name it. You got to save the people who are beekeepers, right? So people who are beekeepers, they will tell us that if it weren't for bees, pollinating these various plants and bringing back and creating honey, which is a medicinal thing for us as well as a food, maybe in 100 years we wouldn't be here because of bees. And so we have to kind of live in harmony. And if often it's not easy because our minds are perhaps trained a certain way from youth, or we might have it embedded genetically that we're not supposed to be embracing animals, we're supposed to eat the animals, we're supposed to do this, this, and this. And even people, as we say, that are vegetarians, we're still eating life. Or vegans, you're still eating life, right? You're still eating something that's connected to you. But only a rare group of people learn to be a breatharian. That's get everything out of the oxygen. So trees are necessary for our own growth, and the leaves as well. Sometimes we can be prepared for the change. Again, we could see the patterns of our behavior. Can also let us know what is about to change in our lives. But we're not always paying attention because we might become sidetracked by other people's lives connected to ours and the path that they're on. And this is not to make any excuse. It's just that there's so much that's going on around us. It can be difficult for us to become very focused. And so it appears that the changes are thrusted upon us. It appears to us that these external things that are going on are thrown in our face. Everybody has a story, as they say. We have a story that we tell ourselves to hopefully soothe the pain that we have emotionally and ward off the mental trauma that we have. So we might cook up a story and we believe that story. Well, we create through our thoughts. We create our reality through our thoughts. But not only our thoughts, but the emotions that are connected to them. If we truly emotionally feel that we're not going to be okay, then we are serving that summons to ourselves, and subconsciously a part of us on a very subtle level is going forth looking for adverse conditions, adverse personalities to be beyond, traumatic experiences to have, to become in a position where we sabotage everything, we mess up everything, we create problems we don't need to create, we create health conditions we're not supposed to experience, and so much more. I have a book back here in my library, one of my library shelves back here, and it is from the author that wrote the series of the books back in the 90s that was called Conversations with God. Maybe it's done back in the 2000s. Neil Donald Walsh wrote these books, Conversations with God. And he was someone that went through a rough time in his own life and lived homeless, and then finally had a home, and then just went into a deep state and started to question and hear God within him answer him directly. Well, he wrote numerous books since then. And one of the books that stood out very strongly was, I think, around 2009. I should have wrote down the exact time when he wrote this book. But this was during the time when we were, going in and out, and we're dealing, we had the experience with 9/11 in 2001. So his book may have been out right about that time. And the book was called When Things Change Everything. Now that title of that book came to me because I'm talking about changes. When leaves fall off your tree, it signifies a change in motion, a change about to happen, or a change has been completed. And you have to find yourself somewhere on that path. So let me just kind of get a glimpse at, see who might be here, and if you're making any comments. Hey, Aria, how you doing today? Good to see you here. Well, this thing called change can greatly affect us, adversely affect us, and positively affect us. But it all depends on how we respond, how we're going to act or react. And so when he talks about this, and he wrote about changes that were currently happening, especially the ones from wars, and how these wars affect everybody, just not the people involved in the war, but the people beyond, the people who are seeing it in the news, seeing it through news media, live, right? So can you imagine what that feels like? And then, of course, America had its awakening on its different levels with 9/11 and what that was like, and how that stood out in our minds, and how that impacted us every day. I remember my friends who lived in New Jersey, who were some of my students in meditation. They were flight attendants. And I could imagine what it was like going through their mind. It didn't happen on their flight. They happened to be in another part of the world, or another part of the United States when that occurred, or were fortunate to be home. I remember one of my closest spiritual sisters on Long Island, named Heather. She had a yoga and Polarity center, and she has 2 children who were grown adults, and she was taking her son. She herself was going into Manhattan to the other center where she teaches that's connected to her center on Long Island. And she was also taking her son in. And she dropped him off somewhere almost close to that area of the World Trade Center when the first tower got hit. And I remember how when she heard it on the radio, tower just got hit, I think it was the North Tower, she got on her cell phone and told her son where to run to, because she had not left Manhattan yet. So she was able to turn around and rendezvous and met him on a corner so they could leave the area properly and head over either the Brooklyn Bridge or the Queens Bridge and get back to Nassau County. What a day. What a time. What an experience. That book that he wrote, When Things Change, Change Everything. What it actually means, in the sense that he wrote it, is when you see a lot of things around you going on and you don't have any control over it, you're doing the best to live the life that you came here to live, that you came to express. You can't lose sight of who you really are. You cannot lose sight of who you really are. Michelle says it all the time. She makes a quote from this guy Michael Rose, and I'm not going to quote it exactly, but he says that we're these metaphysical beings, living through these multiverses, all at the same time. And that may not be exactly as he says it, but something to that effect. We're these infinite beings. And I've heard that in different ways. In a lot of my studies with elders, you don't really die. You just take up another form. The form that you call here on the earth, that has all these trace minerals inside. Eventually you lay that body down and your soul is released to go somewhere else, into the higher ethers, where you begin to experience. And these ethers are not out at another world, because all of these worlds, all of these multiverses, universes, all these are overlapping. Think of a verse like in a scriptural sense, or a verse like in a song, multi. So you're singing all these rhythms. We're stating all these things. We're striving to express ourselves and show ourselves. Just last week, the program title I had was Are You Blazing? Are you a blazing light? Meaning, are you radiating your best side of yourself? Or are you like a shadow? When things change everything. In his book, he goes through the different things you might encounter that could drastically change your life. But he says you need to respond in a calm way, not in an agitated way, so that you can get through your different life situations. So sometimes you don't want to burn yourself out striving to get to somewhere. You want to know that you have enough intelligence, enough internal strength and fortitude. You have enough internal guidance that could catapult you forward. But better yet, if you're listening to the higher self that's giving you this still, silent voice within, it could guide you, it could lead you to where you have to be. So, the higher self is who we need to get in touch with. That's the one inside of ourselves, the higher self. Self, meaning here in the physical, higher self, living beyond the physical. Moving around inside of you and yet outside of you at the same time. I'll say that again. Your higher self is living within you throughout the community of your cells and your organs and all the meridians in your body and all the nerves, the muscles, the tendons, other organs, and yet it lives beyond that, outside of you. One of the things you're going to find yourself doing when the leaves are falling, and especially the leaves on the tree of life connected to you, you're going to find yourself wanting to go within, wanting to go as deep as you can into the silence of yourself. You want to quiet the mind, get the mind to be absolutely quiet, so you can go within, so you can begin to have structural conversation, and that's what I'm going to call it, structural conversation with your higher self. Once you begin to do that, then you and your higher self begin to go through all the remembrances that you have. And in those different infinite remembrances are teachings and lessons and jewels and gems that will help you have a greater sense of clarity with yourself, and you are then able to redefine your purpose for being where you are now. Also, refine that purpose once you understand it and make it work within the construct of the world that you have created or you're about to create anew with yourself. Now, there's a lot of things, though. There's so many layers that we have to work through. Let me get a little bit of water here. We have to get rid of the anger, get rid of the trauma, the remembrances of those traumas. Get rid of all that anger that we have pent up inside. We've got to get rid of the distorted thoughts. We have to take the miscreated ego and rearrange it like a puzzle piece and make it whole again. We have to discover the different roadmaps within ourselves that are going to lead us in the right direction. We have to make better choices for ourselves. I remember I made a statement somewhere, and I think I had it go out on Instagram, and a person jumped on there and said, "Well, that's not correct. You can't decide to make a decision where it won't affect others." The person misread it, and they didn't know from whence I came with the statement, because that statement that I made came out of a meditation that I was involved in, that I was journeying through. I was traveling deeply, and I came out, and those were the last words that I heard from my higher self. So often, you got to be only responsible for yourself. Yes, your responsibilities and the decisions that you make will very well affect other people around you, but first and foremost, they're going to impact yourself. They're going to help you act as keys unlocking doors to change your consciousness. So often, trees have roots, right? And these roots go deep into the earth. And they just don't stop within 5 or 10 feet. Those roots, as they go into the earth, travel out. And if there are other trees in the area, they engage with the other trees. After all, the roots are there to not only hold the tree into the ground, to anchor the tree, but the roots are like straws gathering up the nutrients within the earth, just like through its trunk and into its branches and its leaves, it is absorbing the photon light of the sun, all that energy coming. Our body, our torso, our neck, and our head is the consciousness of the tree, and our arms are, the branches, and our fingers are like the leaves, and our legs are like the roots. So we have to pay attention from where we are gathering the sources from. The consciousness within our own heart helps us to receive as well as to give. And I heard one time long ago from one of my master teachers on earth, and he was quoting from someplace else, so it wasn't his idea, but he was saying it's better to give than to receive. Because in the process of giving, you are actually planting seeds. And if you're aware that everything that you give with unconditional love, meaning no strings attached, you are seeding into the life of another person. And as you seed into the life of another person, helping that person to grow, that energy automatically comes back to you through the universes. So deep within the silence is where we can receive the guidance that we need. We just have to remember that we're not the only ones in this world that's receiving and giving, planting and cultivating. We're not the only ones. I heard that last night on my friend's numerology program, there was a guy on there. I'll just call his first name. His name is Dominic. And Dominic was mentioning how, if we see ourselves, in so many words, as he was saying, as caretakers of this globular platform that was called Gaia or Earth or Sophia, we're actually here holding down the fort, and we have to learn amongst ourselves to reestablish peace in our own life. This is what he was saying in so many words, as far as I can understand, that we were preparing this earth for, quote unquote, the gods to return. Those beings that are totally aware of who they are and how they interact with every other being upon the earth plane. And not just the earth plane, but beyond. It's like, you're going to have some guests come over and visit you. So you tidy up the place. You get rid of things you don't need. You know that you don't need. You've acquired some things that you're holding on to that is very static and it's immobilizing. So you got to uproot this stuff. You got to get rid of this stuff. You got to make room for your guests to come. You want your guests to enjoy themselves and enjoy your company. But you can't do it if you got things all over the place. So in today's topic, I'm going to sum it up. When leaves fall, think of it as when people exit your life for various reasons. It is a reminder for you to live well, to treat others well, to love them unconditionally as much as you can. And I say that because every relationship from person to person, as you know, is very trying. Some people will not let you have a smooth sailing with them. But we all have gone through situations where our lives aren't smooth, where we want to hold on to people. I know as a spiritual counselor and teaching, my earlier years, dating back some 30, 40 years ago, I used to think, how come people don't have a question when I ask, do you have a question? Or how come, I'm teaching the people, but I don't see them come back? Sometimes it has nothing to do if you thought it was poor personality or poor concept of teaching. A lot of it is just time for them to move on. You have to accept that as they move on, they actually free up the energy around you so that you can build again. So many times we're building these different communities on these different layers, on these different stages. Sometimes and most of the time, not just sometimes, but most of the time, when new people come in, and this is for all of us who are teachers and healers out there, what we're doing. Each new person that comes to you, it's giving you a better opportunity to fine-tune what you're teaching, to take a look at what you're teaching. Here's a hint. I'm teaching the different courses that I got connected to my books, and I realized the first person that comes, that signs up, that person, the presence of that person in the class with me, they represent a prototype. Yeah, they represent a prototype. So it all's going to boil down to how I'm presenting the course to them. Will let me know if I need to add on or if I need to pare it down. So I'm thankful when I get a student or students or new students, because through the new students, I get to see exactly how the course is going to work. In our lives, it's exactly the same. People come into our life to impact our life as we impact theirs. But they're just not aimlessly walking through our life, and we're not just aimlessly walking into their life. We're connected on a higher level, and we're doing this to make ourselves better and create better healing and more balance and more peace and more happiness in the environment where we find ourselves. But we have to become aware of who we are and what we are doing. We have to do that. We have to be thankful and be grateful that we have people to teach. And we have to be thankful and grateful that the people that were there left a gift or gifts of understanding for us. And now they move on. And the same for us toward them. So, one of the ways in which to understand which leaves are dropping away and which images in the leaves are fading away. Contemplate and meditate. Those are two. Contemplate on it. Observe what you see that's going on all around you to see if it makes sense to you. Then meditate upon it. You might even do some affirmative prayers on it. But you're going to delve into it. You're going to listen to the teachings of your higher self. Because the higher self knows. And the higher self will tell you, you've been here before. You've been in a similar situation. Just go back and contemplate a bit. And you will see the answer. You will see the decision and the answer and the route that you took. So I just wanted to share that with you today. And that was based on a daydream that I had earlier this week on Sunday. I'm Brother Francis. I'm one of the teachers affiliated with Resonant Essentials here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, located at 3107 Eubank Boulevard, Northeast, in the northwest section of the Scottsdale Shopping Plaza, right there at the intersection of Candelaria Boulevard that runs east and west, and Eubank that runs north and south. Opposite the entrance is the bowling alley across the street on Eubank called Silver Lanes. So this is how you know. And once you pull in there, you'll see a place that says Nashville Chicken. And you drive right past Nashville Chicken, and you'll see a building that's green there, right on your left. And that's Resident Essentials, owned by Michelle Vidal, who comes here with us with her program set, usually every Friday at 12 p.m. called Swanda, and giving us some metaphysical teachings that we can absorb and understand and utilize right away. Also, when you're watching our program here, I'm here every Thursday at 1 p.m. with Wisdom Keys, but understand that there are other people here. We have Donna of Dominion Tarot, and she has Walk-In Wednesdays, and she does other things, and she leaves good teachings out for us. And then she does like a one-card tarot reading for those who are tuning in. We have also at the center, every Tuesday, you'll see at the center there, Amber Jajola. She gives Reiki treatments. So tune in. Find out where all of us are. And be sure to come by. I'm there every Saturday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. You can get a meditation class in for an hour. It only costs you $10. It's part of my Creative Pathwork meditation series to help you learn how to use a guided meditation in a simplistic way without any music, how to go in a little deeper and eventually open the door and connect and embrace your higher self and begin to listen in the silent method. And I utilize both. I teach both within these classes so people can get these experiences. Usually every second and fourth Saturday, there is Spirit Circle, and Donna of Dominion Tarot teaches that. That usually goes from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. I think the cost is like $15. There's a lot going on. There's a woman by the name of Darlene that's there on Saturdays, and she's teaching tarot a few Saturdays out of the month, and she's also teaches on a Wednesday. She teaches tarot there at Resonant Essentials. Every second Sunday we have our Psychic and Healing Fair, $20, $1 a minute, $20 for 20 minutes. I'm there with Celestial I Am drawings for $30, and I give you a reading. So there's a lot that we have going on there. If you want to find out more information, or if you want to become a business member there, just contact Michelle Vidal so you can learn how to do that and become a part of this greater community called Resident Essentials. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining in. I'll see you next Thursday with another live episode of Wisdom Keys with myself, Brother Francis. My grace is your grace. Until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we're alive and well in the age of remembrance. See you all soon. Thank you for coming.